welcome to Nina in the Kitchen, where today I'm going to show you one of the easiest apple pies that I know to make. I kind of stumbled into this and I'll talk about that, but I will never do another traditional apple pie again, and I'll bet once you see this you'll do the same. So here's the first step of this, and that is that you need a double crust pie crust. You do not want a crust that you pat in the pan. You want something that you can roll out. What I'm using is 4 pounds of apples for a normal sized pie. If you want a deep dish pie, just go with 5 pounds. That's about 2 kilos, 2.5 kilos. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing a tart apple. This is a Granny Smith. This is a Honey Crisp. I'm mixing the two to give you a sweet tart kind of a thing. But I find that if you use all sweet apples, it's a little overwhelming, and so you want to balance it out. So what I'm going to do is just peel these and core them, and here's how I do that. The way that I core an apple is you just want to cut this core away, just like that. And the easiest way that I find to do it is I mark where that core ends, and then I just cut around it with a flat side down. And then you keep your fingers curled under and you just cut into slices. You just cut the apple into slices just like that. Okay, well, I have cut up all of these apples. It's amazing how many they make and what it cooks down to. So here is how I came up with all of this. I teach at a local culinary center in my area, and I didn't realize what I was getting into when I created a class for pie making, and committed myself to making 6 pies in one day, which is a feat of engineering. So I started thinking about what I can do ahead. Well, I did the pie crust ahead, and I did this apple filling ahead, and realized that you can make an apple filling. I don't know if you've ever made pies for Thanksgiving and you're expected to bring them, and it becomes rather hectic. So with this filling, all that you do is you cook it ahead. You can package it into an airtight container, keep it in your refrigerator for 3 days or so, and it just gives you more time, buys you more time to put a pie together. Then when you put the pie together, the apples don't cook down, they're already cooked down. They don't cook down, you don't get that gap in the crust. So here we go. What I'm doing is I have 2 tablespoons of butter, unsalted butter. That goes in. If you use salted butter, just leave the salt out of this. The next thing in is your apples. Now you're working with produce. This is on a medium heat, by the way. You're working with produce, which is a fresh product. So you really have to go with, as far as the amounts of sugar, I'm giving you a 1/4 cup of brown sugar because I like that flavor, but I'm going to hold back on some of the white sugar because those apple crisps, as I tasted them, were rather sweet, so I may not need all of it, but up to another 1/4 cup of white sugar. I have cinnamon. That's 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, just a couple grates of nutmeg. Fresh nutmeg, and just a little dab will do you with the nutmeg. You don't want people to say, oh, there's nutmeg in there. If they can identify it, then it's too much. I have just a little pinch of salt. I'm going to use the zest of 1 whole lemon, and I like that little zing, the freshness of lemon juice, so I'm putting that in here as well. And you want about a tablespoon of lemon juice. And it looks like I'm getting that from half of a lemon. You just stir this up, make sure that everything is everywhere. Put the lid on it, and I'll stir it another couple of times. This will take about 7 minutes or so to cook. What you want to do is get it to where it's cooking down and you see juices on the bottom. Another nice thing about this is because you're cooking these apples, you're going to be able to taste it before it goes into the pie, so you'll know exactly what it tastes like when it comes out. Otherwise, it's kind of a guessing game somewhat. So the way I'm going to finish this is with the sprinkling. Now I have about 3 tablespoons of flour here, and you won't need anywhere near that. I'm just going to do a little sprinkling of flour if needed, and I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Some of these are completely cooked. Some of them still have a little crunch to them, and that's exactly where you want this. You can see there are juices at the bottom. I let some of it cook off, and it's been thickened somewhat with the flour. Now when this cools down, this viscosity will change. So what I'm going to do is a quick chill. I'm just using a fork to dock this. You want to make sure that your pie crust is in the corners as well. So now from here, it looks like the viscosity of those juices is going to work out. So I'm not going to do anything with that. I am going to add the vanilla now. I add vanilla off heat because it's alcohol based, so it's very volatile, and it just holds up better if you do it if you do it off of the heat and don't let it boil. I suppose I could have done it sooner, but you know how that goes. I forgot. So now we're just going to take all of this filling, put it right in here, and I'm just showing you a basic apple pie. Because this has been cooked down, this is exactly what you're getting when it comes out of the oven. I'm going to take egg wash, and this is just an egg white, which I've beaten up somewhat with and mixed it with a little bit of water. Putting that around the edge, and that is going to be our glue for when I put this top crust on. You just gently press all the way around. Make sure your pie is sealed. But another nice thing about this recipe is that because the juices have already been cooked out of those apples, you're not going to have spillover in your oven. If you've ever done that, you know what a mess that is. So now you take these edges, you push them under, and you just to neaten it up, you take that edge, push it under, push it under. Now on the edge of the pie, some of this is perfect and some is not. So let me show you what I do. This may help you. If you have a really nice looking crust, you can just take 2 fingers and then take your index finger over here or your thumb and hold your pie crust in place and push in with your thumb, and then you just go into the dimple that you created there. That is the classic fluted edge. That's how you make it. So your thumb goes in the last dimple. But if you want to try something else, another really easy thing to do is to take a spoon and you just go into your pie crust, and you want to actually sort of cut into the pastry and go in, and that gives you a edge that looks, it reminds me of those Roman drapes that kind of drape down. So here we have half the pie, well, about a third of the pie with the ruffled, I'm calling it the Roman drape edge, and you want to cut a vent into it. I think I'm just going to go with 4 smaller cuts, and then in between that, you can do some bigger ones and make it look sort of like a star, because this will be the star of the show. And then back to the egg wash. If you do an egg wash, you can put this back in the refrigerator and hold it for just a few minutes, then bring it out and egg wash it a second time. And what that will do is the first one just kind of gives you a glaze. The second one will give you a high polished shine. When you're using an egg wash on pastry, just be careful not to get puddles into the edges of your crust. You use egg white, egg yolk, or whole egg, depending on how you want your pastry to brown. This is going to be in the oven for about an hour, and so in that amount of time, you don't need any browning action from anything else, so you just want to go complete egg white on this. If it's something that's a little quicker to bake, like a Danish pastry or something, then you can use egg yolk or the whole egg. So what I'm doing now is from high up, I'm going to sprinkle some sanding sugar on here. Sanding sugar is just this large crystalled sugar. It's beautiful. And it makes everything just a little extra special. Pastry should be chilly when it goes into the oven. This is getting a little soft. So I think what I'm going to do is put this back in the fridge for about 20 minutes. And what will happen is the integrity of these cuts and also of this pinch pleat that we did, all of that will hold a little better when it's chilled as opposed to putting it in at room temp. So 20 minutes from now, we'll pop it in the oven. If you need to protect the edge of your pie crust, a homemade method of doing it is to make a shield like this. Now you can buy shields and they're very handy, but if you don't have one and you need protection for your pie crust, the edge might be getting brown before the center. So if you see that happening, what you do is you just put this around your pan and just protect the edge like that. But we'll do that later if necessary. This is in a tempered glass pan. What's nice about these pans is that you can see that it's being browned all the way around, so you know you won't have a soggy bottom. What's bad about those pans is that because they're tempered glass, if they go from cold to hot and it's an older pan, it may shatter, which is a huge mess. You don't want to go there. So what I do whenever I'm using a tempered glass pan is I insulate it by using a sheet pan, and then on top of that, for further insulation, I'm going to use a silicone mat. So this is going into a 425 degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. That is 215 Celsius. After about 20 minutes, we'll look if this is looking good around the edge. I won't protect it. If it is looking a little too brown, I'm going to put a shield around it. Then from there, you drop the temp down to 375 for another 20 minutes or so, and that's 190 Celsius. When it comes out, it should be golden brown, and if you take a knife and go all the way through, it should be nice and soft. You shouldn't feel any crunchy bits of apple in there. Well, I forgot to turn the mic on. So, please excuse me, we're gonna have to do this again. When you cut a piece of pie, it's easiest to cut 2 slices, and then you see you get 1 clean slice out of it. So, here is the second one. And I made some whipped cream for this. It's whipped cream with sugar and cinnamon in it. And if you're in the mood for this, you can add a little glitter of sugar. There's so many sugar options nowadays. It's a lot of fun to play around with it. And for the holidays, it's nice. Then here's a little bit of cinnamon. These apples held their integrity. Some of them are firm and delicious, and some got soft. So you have those different textures going on, which is really nice. The pastry is light and fluffy, and there's no gaps between the filling and the crust, which is a nice thing to have. So this pie is absolutely a home run. I hope you tried this, because now you can have apple pie in your own time, which is a great thing. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you come back again. Bye, guys.